No other building demonstrates the power of the great Joseon Dynasty more impressively than does the Gyeongbok-Kung Palace in Seoul. The palace is a place of calm amid the hustle and bustle of South Korea's capital city. Yet the history of the Gyeongbok-Kung, meaning Palace of Happiness, was quite often far from being a place of peace and contentment. Since it was built in the 14th century, it suffered many devastating fires caused by the Japanese, the last time during the Second World War. Since then, the buildings have been rebuilt, so today's palace shines out in all of its former majestic splendor. The palace dates back to the early times of the Joseon Dynasty. Gyeongbok-Kung was the first palace in Seoul and also the largest. The spacious residence was the very heart of Seoul and also became the new center of power for the Joseon monarchy. During the rule of the Joseon Dynasty, several social changes took place, most notably the spread of Confucianism. Right up until today, the philosophy and doctrine of Confucianism plays an important role in the daily religious life of the people of South Korea. Rows of red pillars adorn the eastern corridor of the Gyeongbok-Kung, a section of the palace that was once used for festive events and ceremonies such as state coronations and the reception of foreign dignitaries. The main building of the Gyeongbok-Kung Palace is a symbol of the imaginative architecture of the epoch of the Joseon Dynasty. The Gyeongbok-Kung also features a large courtyard that was used for royal functions and military ceremonies. In addition to its many architectural treasures, the Gyeongbok-Kung also has a splendid park. The rear section of the park features many pretty gardens and picturesque pavilions. However, the splendor of these buildings fell into decay during the 16th century. The military superiority of the Japanese spelled the end of the Joseon Dynasty. Being a symbol of power of the Joseon monarchy, the Gyeongbok-Kung Palace was a favorite target of the Japanese invaders. During the 14th and 15th centuries, they ravaged the palace area and burned down most of the buildings. When enjoying the magnificence of the Gyeongbok-Kung's audience hall, it's hard to believe that the palace lay in ruins for more than 250 years. The throne dates back to the 19th century, which was when the first restorations took place. At that time, it was not only the original buildings that were reconstructed. From 1867, several new ones were added. A total of 330 buildings were reconstructed within the 40-hectare area of the palace grounds. 2.5 centuries after its destruction, life returned to the palace once again. The palace architects managed to unite Chinese influence with traditional Joseon architecture in a most harmonious way. Unfortunately, the beauty of the buildings was short-lived. The second period of Japanese occupation wrought further destruction to the newly re-erected palace complex. Almost 85% of the Yeongbok-Kung was destroyed during Japanese occupation. From the beginning of the 1990s, reconstruction work on the palace was intensified, and today most of the palace buildings have been fully renovated. The restoration work was not based upon the architecture of the 19th century, but on the original architecture of the Joseon Dynasty. No cost or effort was spared to have the palace rebuilt in all its original splendor, with a keen eye to detail. The great sense of tradition and history felt by the Korean people duly assisted the Gyeongbok-Kung Palace return to its former regal beauty. The surrounding park complex highlights the dignified atmosphere of this historic place. The palace guards are particularly impressive. Their traditional uniform helps to bring Korea's history back to life. The daily changing of the guard ceremony of the smartly dressed soldiers is a popular spectacle that is attended by most of those who visit the Yeongbok-Kung Palace. The ceremony takes place 4 times a day. It's a fascinating military ritual of bygone times. Centuries-old drum ceremonies that have been handed down from generation to generation continue to be performed and indicate the strong sense of tradition of the Korean people. The Gyeongbok-Kung continues to attract sightseers, as it is without a doubt a fine example of the architecture of the Joseon Dynasty.